Hey everybody, this is Nick from Hexfleet Virulus. Welcome to episode 7 of Warp Search Radio for some new Death Guard combos, little tips and tricks from looking at all the new stuff Death Guard got in the new Psychic Awakening supplement, War of the Spider. This is take number 2. Take number 1 about 30 minutes ago had an audio issue with the feedback loop, even though I tested it right before the show. Something always goes wrong with technology, even if you practice it. So my hat off to Frontline Gaming and all the people who are podcasters and especially live video content creators out there. For anybody who live streams on Twitch, not easy to do, especially if you're a one-man show like me. But I'm trying something different here. So hopefully this time it will work with the audio. If it doesn't, I'm checking on my phone. Let me know if you're telling me that you're having audio issues or anything else. So I'm going to jump right back on in with what I was doing before, which is going over all the rules from the new supplement. And not every single thing, but there's so much for Death Guard, and I'm so excited about so much of this. If you are a Death Guard player, you should be incredibly excited too. I think we were at this point by far the oldest army without new rules. We had probably the least stratagems of any army in the game. Psychic powers weren't great, not a great Legion trait, no sub-Legion traits like Ultramarines. This didn't fix all of that, but I do think it made Death Guard a much more fun army to play, and it made it more competitive. Some people are saying they don't like the new rules and that it wouldn't hold up in tournaments, but I'm a tournament player and I love all of this stuff. So let me jump right on in here. And if you're watching in the chat, feel free to say something. Let me know if you're having any issues with the visual or the audio, or you just have a question. I do have the chat open here on my phone, so just let me know. So, for the relics, and let me just make this note here in the chat. Let me know if you have audio or visual issues. For the relics, the first one is the Ogstone. This is one of only 2 relics that is for a Lord of Contagion. And it's just -1 strength. It's a short range. Might be okay. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. The All-Wither. This is a Bale Sword. I went to LVO and a lot of other tournaments taking a Chaos Lord with a Bale Sword for deep striking with Terminators. Now, this is great because it's only a 6-point weapon. This relic I really like it. Plague weapon, +1 strength, 2 damage, already a better power sword. But that AP -3 is matched with ignoring invulnerable saves. Fantastic. I love ignoring invulnerable saves. Can really throw people off. So, what's the other good thing about this? Well, if you're bringing that Chaos Lord as an Arch Contaminator for reroll all Plague weapons on your Terminators and on your guy, or you're marching in the middle, bunch of Plague Marines, all of a sudden you have a Strength 5 weapon that rerolls all to wound and is AP -3 and ignores invulnerable saves. So most things in the game, if you're in Power Armor, you're getting a 6-up save. It's 2 damage. You've got 4 attacks base. You've got 5 of Faithful Assault. If you're with some Death Shroud, you're at 5 normally, 6 in the first round of combat. 6s give you Death to the False Emperor against Imperials. So this guy can blunder a squad of even if you've got something in an invulnerable save, a multi-wound unit like some Primaris or Marines, even if they have power armor and storm shields, he can cut straight through them. So I think this is great. A lot of people are not prepared to lose their invulnerable saves. The Demon's Toll, I'm not going to spend time on it. It's amazing. You all saw it on the Warhammer Community Preview website. The thing that I really like about this is that it's models within 7 inches. It's units, not models. I'm sorry, and that's just really, really impressive. That it's this Death Guard 7-inch range bubble, and it covers. You can potentially, especially on the smaller board now, you can touch most of your army with this to give them that buff. and excludes cultists and poxwalkers, but you can put it on vehicles. You can give it to land raiders. Now there's a strat that you can give disgustingly resilient to units that don't have it. So if you want, you can bring 3 land raiders and basically make them demon engines, except that they're still on the normal ballistic skill because they can have the 5-up vulnerable and the feel no pain. Really, really good. Then there's a Hellforged Sword ability. I like this a lot because maybe you could see it a little better. It might be a little bit blurry. But the nice thing here about this is the Chaos Space Marines got in the supplement a bunch of new demon weapons so that they could put them on demon princes in most cases. And, Chaos Space Marines already had that in their base book. The demon princes and chaos demons have good weapons, but there was never anything for Death Guard because all you could really take was the separating plate for the armor save and the mortal wound reflection. Now there is one that you can give to the to your demon prince. So, and there's also a stratagem later in the book that you can use when you're fighting infantry to get even more attacks. And so the +1 strength is fine, AP -2 is fine, flat 3, but it's a plague weapon. So reroll at least once, potentially all of them, depending on what if you've got that warlord trait nearby. And then exploding 6s. So I am a big fan of this. Then there's a Psyker Relic, an additional power. That's good. And then once in each psychic phase, you can heal D3 wounds after successfully casting a power. Obviously good on a Plague Caster, because you get 2 chances to get those wounds back. But what's cool about this too is you can put it on a Demon Prince. And so normally the only way to get wounds back on a Demon Prince for Death Guard is there was one power that let you do it. Then Warlord trait. Now there's a second Warlord trait in one of the Plague Companies, but this gives you a third way, and you can stack those. So if you really are worried about your Demon Prince dying, put this on him and give him the one of the Warlord traits to do it. So there's 2 different ways that you can get in a battle round wounds back, and then if you ally in a Nurgle Demon Psyker with the Fleshy Abundance power, you've got 3 different ways. So again, I like that a lot. All of these are good in my opinion, except for maybe the Lord of Contagion one. And the last one here is Worm Spitter. This is cool because you can turn anything you want. You can hit a unit and everything in your army that attacks that unit into shooting or in the assault phase for that round. So probably it's going to be on your turn only. You've got the ability to turn even plasma weapons into plague weapons. But the problem is it's a bolt pistol, and yeah, with a bolt pistol, you know what you can put that on? I think only 3 units in this whole codex. You can put it on a Plague Surgeon. You can put it on a Chaos Lord with a bolt pistol, and you can put it on a Chaos Sorcerer. Well, alright, none of those are units that can deep strike. None of those are very mobile. And I see that. Thanks, Bullfrog, for letting me know that. So far, at least the audio is good. I think I fixed the issue, so really helpful. But I appreciate you pointing that out earlier. This would be so good if I could put it on something that would deep strike, because it's 15 inches. I can shoot something out of, even deep striking 9 inches away, and I could turn all my overcharged plasma shots on my Blight Lords into plague weapons. Strength 8, rerolling, everything with Arch Contaminator is no joke, because they already did a lot of damage to knights, and especially if I allied in a Death Hex or something. So I like this a lot. I still am going to think of ways to use it. It's just really frustrating. It's a bolt pistol and not a combi bolter. So next we've got the stratagems. These are really good. I don't know why some people were saying they weren't. They're fantastic. there's some stuff in here that is exactly what I've been wanting for 3 years as a Death Guard player. So, Plague Chosen is the Warlord upgrade. And you can use it pregame. You can use it more than once. Fantastic. Why is that so good for Death Guard? Because Death Guard, before the supplement, didn't have good stratagems. They only had one good relic. Psychic powers were okay, but they had some really good Warlord traits, and now they have even more with the Plague Companies. So I'm almost always going to be using this. If nothing else, I'm going to take a guy that's not my Warlord. And if my Warlord's not the Arch-Contaminator for the reroll all wounds, I'm going to make the second guy, just give him that. And I've even got some tricks of what I might do with that when we look at some of the other stratagems here. So the other thing is there are multiple Death Guard Warlord traits now that give you wounds back. So that's another reason to take multiple of these. And the Death Guard actually have all those elite characters like the Tallyman, the Plague Surgeon, and so on. And why not give that to one of those? Why not give Arch-Contaminator to a Foul Blight Spawn? And I have 3 of them. Why not run all 3 of them? I don't have to worry about the Warlord following them around. I can give it to one of them. It's just a character. It doesn't have to be an HQ. So all 3 of them can run down the field, within that 6 or 7 inch bubble. If I put one in the middle, they're protected by the character keyword, and all 3 of them are going to reroll all to wound on those AP3 flat damage 3 flamers that are 9 inch range, and you can advance and shoot them, and there's even a strat to make that better. This is going to be so useful. I'm always going to use this at least once or twice in every game that I play from Death Guard from now on, probably. And then this is the other one that I've been wanting for years and years and years, which is Harbinger of Nurgle. Gives the Lord Contagion, the Chaos Lord, reroll 1's ability. So now there's no more reason to take a Chaos Lord unless you want to take that really good Balesword relic to ignore invulnerable saves. But for like 15-ish points more, at least in 8th edition, you now have a Lord Contagion that does the same thing, but he's toughness 5. He comes with disgustingly resilient. He comes with the Scythe, which is really good, and it's a plague weapon. So if you have Arch-Contaminator, someone can give it to him, or he can give himself reroll all wounds. It always rerolls 1s to wounds. So this is fantastic. It's a straight up upgrade. This is instantly, in my opinion, going to take Lord of Contagions from something that you've probably never seen once on a table in a tournament to something you might see all the time. Absolutely amazing. And here's a trick. You can probably, I know for sure, unless they FAQ this, you can put that on Typhus, because Typhus has Lord of Contagion keywords. So Typhus, great, but he only hits on 2s. He doesn't reroll 1s. He doesn't give reroll 1s to Death Shroud or a Blight Lord Terminator he deep strikes with. Well, now he does. Fantastic. So you can take Typhus, and he can be your Chaos Lord. He can be your Playcaster, because he knows and casts 2 powers, and he gives the aura, which is not great, but it's a Lord Contagion special ability for the Mortal Wounds aura, if you're close to them. And, of course, he's got the 2d6 Flamer that's AP3 that always hits on 5s, and then he has a little better Scythe. So now suddenly Typhus, if you give him this, he can fulfill the role of 3 different HQ choices in 1, instead of just 2. And arguably, I think that reroll 1s is the most important of the 3, so it's fantastic. Virulent Rounds. This is pretty good. It basically turns, for 1 squad of only Plague Marines, you can't put anything else, it turns bolt guns into plague weapons. It's really good because it's 1 CP no matter how big your unit is. So if you have a unit of 20, and you can hide them with Cloud of Flies, so that they can't get shot back. And if they have 20 bolters, which they can move in rapid fire, 18 inches out still, thanks to their Legion trait, all of a sudden, that might be 40 shots that either at least reroll 1s, but if you have Arch-Contaminator, they reroll 2 wounds as well. So if your guys are not already equipped with, double plague knives, like some people do, if they have bolters, which is honestly how the Snapfit models from Games Workshop come, you get a lot more guys with bolters than anything else, unfortunately. But now all of a sudden it's useful. And there's a lot of incentive to bring all those guys with an Arch-Contaminator, HQ or something. And then you can cast psychic powers like +1 to wound and mortal wounds on all 20 of them. There's another strat in here that gives you extra attacks with the knives. So spending 1 CP, if you've already got an Arch Contaminator with them for all those melee attacks, why not shoot? Probably more likely you're shooting 18 guys twice in rapid fire range, because you're going to want to give at least 2 of your guys the Plague Flails, but that's still 36 attacks that, depending on how many hits you get, or if you ally Impressions, or you have a Lord there for reroll 1s, or Lord Contagion now, because you can do that. Rerolling wounds is not bad, especially Veterans of the Long War. You can get, against other Space Marines, 3 up to wound rerolling, or you can even shoot Knights at 5 up rerolling to wound. Soul Harvest. This is the one I was talking about a minute ago. This is with the Demon Prince, with the Demonic Axe or Hellforged Sword. I'm going to assume that Relic for Hellforged Sword also counts. It should. And then you can only attack infantry at that round, which is a really weird restriction, but it adds 3 extra attacks. And honestly, if you've got that Hellforged Sword, most of what you want to attack with that model, other than maybe like weak flyers or something, is probably going to be, infantry, especially with all the Primaris stuff that's around. So, being base 4 attacks, and then you add 1 now for Hateful Assault, and then you add 3. So you can have 8 attacks on a charge, hitting on 2s rerolling. Your Death Guard, you have 6s turned into extra attacks from Death to the False Emperor, and you can use that with this that Relic. That's also Plague Weapon. So that Relic plus the Stratagem might be something that becomes pretty common, especially if you have given that Demon Prince the Arch Contaminator Warlord trait. And you rush him up the field with some Blight. Mephitic Blight Haulers, or with defeated Bloat Drones with their flamers, or with Plague Burst Callers with their flamers. This is a way to make him a lot beefier, and because it's not a relic, it's a strat, you can only use it when you need it. Foul Gush, not much to say about this. It's amazing. I have played a lot of tournaments with 3 Foul Blightspawn, and they've always done really well. And here, for just 1 CP, I can pick one of them. I rolled 2d6, basically, and picked the highest for number of shots. Great. I was already often spending a command point to reroll the number of shots, because when they got close, they needed to really hit something. And they were amazing at taking down flyers, or deep striking, smash captains, or whatever. And until the end of phase, you also roll basically 3d6 and discard the lowest. Also amazing. I love this. Relentless Volleys, it's Death Guard infantry only, shooting, and it turns their bolters basically into rapid fire 2, and it turns the combi bolters into rapid fire 3. This is what makes me really sad that I have combi plasma modeled and painted on all my Death Guard, and they're not magnetized or sculpted, because if you have 10 Death Guard now with combi bolters, you can deep strike them down, and because they're Terminator armor, they fire full range with their combi weapons at 24 inches. And now that unit of 10 would put out 60 bolter shots. And you can give that Veterans a Long War. Yeah, it's two command points if you do that on a unit with 6 more models, but I think that's really good. And then let's see. I'm going to try to go through the rest of these pretty quickly. Some of these are not as good as the ones I've been looking at, but Putrid Fendosity. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So this is in the opponent shooting phase or in the fight phase. Either fight phase. When a Plague Marines unit is chosen as a target, it's 2 or 3 CPs depending on whether you have 10 or less or 11 or more. But you add 1 to the Disgustingly Resilient roll. I really wish this had been 1 or 2, because that makes this a really hard stratagem to swallow. But potentially what you can do is have a 20-man unit, and you keep it from getting shot until you get really close with Cloud of Flies, which is only 1 command point, and then as soon as you're in combat, or everyone's too close to you for that to work. If you just need to survive one round, 20 Plague Marines with a 4-up, disgustingly resilient is really good, especially because one of the plague companies we're going to look at gives you reroll Feel No Pains of 1 and 2. So if you've got 20 of them, and after their armor save, they get a 4-up save that rerolls 1s and 2s. I could see that being worth it. There's a lot of situational strats in here for Plague Marines that make me consider bringing 20 of them. Because unlike everything else in the game that has to worry about getting shot with the new blast weapons, you can make them pretty much immune by running some demon engines in front and then moving them up with Cloud of Flies. They're just going to be CP hungry, but if you base your whole army around it, it might work. And then anything to get close to, you use the new stratagems that we're also going to look at, and you just throw grenades at 12 inches and mortal wound them to death if you have the grenade elite character with you. I think someone did the math on it, and if you have 20 of them, you could throw grenades at 2 knights with all the veterans of the Long War and the stratagems and the grenade character at 12 inches and easily mortal wound kill both of them, assuming you've got a reroll once to hit. Trench fighters. This was on the Warhammer community page. It gives everybody extra attack, so you've got 20 of them in a unit, and they all have a plague knife, which normally they do. It's 20 extra attacks. Normally not that special, but when you consider that you can give them the psychic power to do mortal wounds on a 7+, and it's +1 to wound, and then you can do Veterans of the Long War, and their plague weapons, so you can have an Arch Contaminator, so you can be Strength 4, +2 to wound, re-rolling all wounds, and although at that point you don't even need Arch Contaminator if you've got the +2 to wound, so you're probably winning most things in the game on a 2+ at that point. And every 5 or 6 is a mortal wound, so they can already get to 4+ attacks. Normally, if you got 20 of them and you're doing mortal wounds on 5, 6s to wound, you might be getting reroll to hit of 1. So they can just everything together here gives you the ability to use whatever you want for Plague Marines. So I wish they made Plague Marines better without requiring a huge amount of command points. But this is still pretty interesting that you can gear out the Plague Marines to do whatever you want them to do. Warp Toll. That one's just for Noxious Blightbringers, which not the biggest fan of. So, hyper toxic tinctures. This is the one a lot of people have been talking about. A few people. I think more people should be talking about this because I think this is one of the best new stratagems. It's for a Plague Surgeon. You never saw a Plague Surgeon before because they were terrible. Now you can give them reroll wound rolls of 1 or 2 for plague weapons instead of just 1 for friendly Death Guard units while the unit within 6 inches of the model. I don't know why it's 6 inches instead of 7. It should be 7 like everything else for Death Guard, but oh well. The thing that I'm planning to do with this that I haven't seen other people talking about yet is why not put this on a Plague Surgeon that sits with that walks around with some of your vehicles, or that sits in the back with the new Plague Burst Crawlers that have gotten a lot better with entropy cannons, because there's another stratagem in here that's really good for Plague Burst Crawlers with entropy cannons, and now in the new edition, vehicles can move and shoot with their weapons without penalty. So all those Plague Burst Crawlers with entropy cannons and mortars and the gun in front, they can just move 10 inches a turn and fire full everything. So there's no reason at this point not to fire those weapons anymore. Then, why not move and advance a Plague Surgeon around with those demon engines? A lot of those weapons are really high strength. They're strength 7 or strength 8. They're probably already wounding a lot of things on a 3-up or a 4-up. So getting a reroll 1 and 2 is great. The entropy cannon strength 8. Unless you're shooting a knight, you're already wounding on a 3-up. So if you've got a Plague Surgeon there with this thing, walking around with them or sitting in the back with them, that just means you're rerolling all wounds on those entropy cannons, because you can make those plague weapons now, which is a huge game changer. So this with 3 Plague Burst Crawlers with entropy cannons shooting their mortars and their entry cannons with as plague weapons. They're both strength 8. I really like that combination. But you can also just give it to a plague surgeon, and he walks around with your, in your bubble of 30 10-man plague marines, or your one squad of 20 big ones, whatever you want to do. There's another stratagem in here that is for feel no pain of 1 or 2. That's from one of the companies. And so there's nothing in here that prevents you from doing both on the same plague surgeon. So you can have a plague surgeon that gives a bubble of reroll 1s and 2s of disgusting resilient, and rerolls 1s and 2s of plague weapons. Noxious rupture. This is it's really weird. Any phase other than morale phase, when a Death Guard unit has been wiped out, it's any Death Guard unit, not just infantry. It has to be, you select an enemy unit within 3 inches of that model. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, when resolving an attack made by a model from the selected unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. I actually think this is pretty good because you can use it on anything when they kill it, basically either in melee or almost right next to them. What's cool about this is it's until the end of the opponent's next turn. So, let's say, and this could even be if you kill yourself in, your psychic phase with casting psychic power or something. But more likely, let's say they kill a unit of yours in your assault phase. It's at the start of the assault phase, and they interrupt and they kill something. Well, use that, and then for the rest of that assault phase, and then for their entire turn, that unit has -1 to hit against everything for just 1 command point. Or let's say this happens, in your opponent's fight phase. They go first. They kill something of yours. You pop it. For the rest of that fight phase, then for your entire turn, then for their entire turn, including shooting and attacking, it's a whole battle. That would be a whole battle round plus the rest of 1 fight phase. That unit is -1 to hit. Really good. It could be, even more than 2 player turns worth of use out of that strat. Eruption of Filth. This is pretty stupid. It's when a Death Guard Terminator dies. The only reason I would ever use this is if you're desperate to kill the last wound on a nearby enemy character, a couple of characters that are almost dead. Mutant Strain, it's Poxwalkers. Unmodified wound rolls of 6 inflict mortal wounds. But I don't know why you would use a lot of Poxwalkers, because now you don't want to get hit with blast weapons anymore. They can only go to squads 20, which has always been a big problem. So why would you really use this? I don't know. And it's unmodified wound rolls, so you can't even use the psychic power. I'm really not sure about this unless you charge 20 zombies into like a character who's in Terminator armor and or Storm Shield and thinks he's really safe. And maybe you have the Tallyman nearby who gives reroll all hits, and so you can have 40 attacks out of that unit. Hitting on 4 up, rerolling everything, so you've got 30 hits, and then at that point, you would do 5 mortal wounds to him, assuming you can't reroll the 2 wound rolling anyway. But still, I'm not convinced. And here's the last set of stratagems. So, miasmal affections. Start a fight phase, select 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of a Plague Marine unit. Until the end, subtract 1 from toughness characteristics. It doesn't double up with Mortarions. This would be good. This would be great, except that it's 2 command points. If this were 1, I would use a lot. 2, only if I was really desperate. The nice thing is, it's not just -1 toughness against that Plague Marine unit that's doing it. It's against everything in your army. So, it could be good. I just don't know when you would need it, especially when you have a bunch of Plague weapons that can reroll a lot of the 2 wounds or get bonus strength or bonus wound or whatever. Overwhelming generosity, shooting with a Death Guard unit. Add 6 inches to the range of plague weapons. A lot of people pointed out you can make the grenades 12 inches if on a unit of 10 or 20 plague marines, and then do the mortal wounds and everything at 12 inches out. Yeah, really, really good. The thing that I really like about this is I've been a big fan of Death Shroud Terminators for a long time. Every time I've tried them, I've liked them a lot. I only have 3 painted, but I want 5 or 6. And because they've gotten 2 rounds of points cuts, I don't know what they're going to be in 9th edition, but in this edition now, they're very affordable. I think a squad of 3 is like 156 points. And they're better than Blight Lord Terminators with, their base strength 5. They have 3 attacks base. The Sergeant has 4. They get the Flamers for free now. And those little Flamers, they're only strength 3, but they're pistols. You can fire them in combat. But with this, if you bring down 6, the Sergeant gets an extra Plague Spur Gauntlet for free. You've got 7 d6 shots, and, their Flamer range, but with this, you can add 6 inches. So you can shoot it out of Deep Strike. Well, it's Plague Weapon, so if you're Deep Striking with an Arch Contaminator Lord with them, they reroll to wound. You can give them Veterans of the Long War, so you can have, 7d6 Strength 3 weapons that are +1 to wound, and reroll all wounds and hit automatically out of Deep Strike. And so it's AP 0, but you hit you deep strike in the middle of 2 or 3 squads of gaunts or whatever, something that they're kind of minimizing against the blast roll. You can just wipe them all out and then charge something else. Or you can kill screen with the flamers and then try to charge, whatever's behind the flamers. So I actually think for 1 command point, this could be really good, not just for the grenades, and not just reaching something with Foul Blight Spawn or a Bloat Drone, but also on a full unit of Death Shroud with Plague Spur Gauntlets. Fire Fever, it's a Hellbrute model. You reroll the hit rolls when shooting at the same model. I don't know if that's good. I just don't like Hellbrutes. Parasitic Fumes, I like this one a lot. Because this is one of the things that I think is going to come out of this book that people don't look at, and then months later, you're going to see someone making really creative use of this because it can be used so many different ways. You select a Blight Hauler unit from your army, and again, they can come in a squad of 3 until the end of the turn, so you can work for the shooting and for the assault phase on your turn. Putting an attack on an enemy model within 7 inches of the unit. Improve the AP of any attack that unit by 1. So you have to pick what you're doing, but oh no, you don't. Nope, it's you can put this on their whole army potentially. You move those guys 10 inches, maybe even advance them up, and you've got 3 guys on those fairly large round bases. You measure 7 inches from all of them. And everything that touches one of those models, not units, but models within 7 inches, gets an extra AP. So shooting for your whole army, all those bolters, which maybe now you made them all plague bolters for a big squad of 20 plague marines, all the assaults you do, including them if they assault something and they're not bad in combat because they're -1 to hit and all that. I think this stratagem being 1 command point single-handedly makes a really good argument for having Blight Haulers in your army now, depending on what they cost in 9th edition. So I think that's a sleeper stratagem that could be really, really useful. There's just so much stuff that you can combo that up with, including, that guy I talked about earlier, the Chaos Lord with the Bale Sword. He already ignores invulnerable saves. His sword is AP 3. You've got those Blight Haulers nearby. He charges in out of Deep Strike or something. Suddenly you're AP 4 with a weapon that ignores invulnerable saves. And it's 2 damage, +1 strength, reroll 1 to wound, potentially reroll all wounds. Gosh, why not, put him into Mortarion or something at that point and just, cut through him or, take half his health or something. Life Eater. When a Death Guard unit from your army is chosen to fight with, it's any unit, not just infantry. When resolving an attack made with a plague weapon, an unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically scores a hit and successfully wounds. I'm trying to figure out when you would use this, because there's so many things you can do to improve your strength or your to wound. Um, and it's only in the fight phase, so you can't shoot it with your new plague bolters. Um, but I guess this might be as good if you're um, trying to fight a knight or something that you're going to have a hard time wounding. But I'm reserving my opinion on that for now. Um, it says unmodified, which makes me less attracted to it. But, it could be useful. Let's see. Accelerated entropy. This is the one I was talking about earlier. Believe it or not, I have actually played in tournaments with entropy cannon plague burst crawlers. I knew that the entropy cannons wouldn't do that much, but the mortars. There are games where I single-handedly forced my opponents to abandon their whole strategy and come out and come at me because I had those mortars. Because there's not a lot of things in the game that ignore line of sight, have 48-inch range, are strength 8, reroll ones to wound, or reroll everything to wound if you've got an Arch Contaminator character nearby. So you can even then, be wounding knights on 4-up, rerolling everything. I think they're AP2 if I remember right, and then they're D3 damage. So, I've had rounds where I would just get lucky with my 3 Plague Burst Crawlers, and the mortars would just kill off a squad of Custodes or Intercessors on foot that were hiding in a FLG bunker, ITC bunker that was obscured on all 4 sides and had a roof. And, that was the only thing over there holding an objective. So suddenly the opponent's no longer an objective that they thought they were going to be on all game. And they have to, completely change their strategy. And I always said, I wish the entropy cannons had bolters. Or had the plague weapon special rule. Well, now they do. And it's 1 command point, and, if you can keep that plague crawler in the middle alive or near the other ones alive, all 3 of them get it. And on top of that, they make the damage roll at least a 3. Because a 1 or 2 will count as a 3. So this is what I was saying earlier. You put that, Plague Surgeon with that reroll 1s and 2s relic, or the stratagem upgrade that you just do pay 1 command point before the game. Park him next to these guys. He doesn't get the reroll 1s to hit like a Chaos Lord, although you could ally an Epidemius, and as soon as you kill 2 things with Nurgle demons, you get reroll 1s anyway, table wide. But point is, the mortars and the cannons are going to be wounding most things on a 3-up, anyway. And so if you reroll the 2s as well, it gives them the same thing as an Arch Contaminator against everything that's not, toughness 8 or better. So I really like that combination. I really am considering putting taking 3 of them with entropy cannons, depending on what they cost in a new edition, and putting them with the Plague Surgeon in the back. And just letting them sit there, or they can move now without penalty. I still wish they were more accurate with to hit roll on a 4-up, but I do like that. You can even, give an Arch Contaminator Demon Prince. He moves 12. You've got some of the blow drones in front with flamers. You've got these guys coming up in the back, keeping up. They move to full 10 inches without penalty. And then to just reroll everything for everything except the front gun with the entropy cannons as well. So you've got anti-armor and anti-infantry. And now they can fire heavy weapons in combat, at a -1 penalty. We'll see. Contaminated Monstrosity. This is the last stratagem that's not in a company. It's really great. It's either 1 or 2 command points, depending on whether it has 12 or less or 13 or more wounds. And if it doesn't have Disgustingly Resilient, it gets it. The way it's written right now, that could be Forge World Dreadnoughts. I don't have any, Dorito Dreadnoughts, but if you do, this seems stupid good. I'm not sure how many wounds they have. I think they have 14. So it'd be 2 command points each, but, you can use as many times as you want. It's stupid not to do that. Why wouldn't you? This fixes also the big issue with the Chaos Lord from all, or I played a lot of games where I would just deep strike a Chaos Lord Terminator armor and a Sorcerer and Terminator armor with 10 Blight Lords. That not having that feel no pain, even though their characters really hurt. Especially, the Psyker, misfires on the cast. You can't take a disgustingly resilient, I still call feel no pain, against those mortal wounds. Well, one command point, now you can. It lasts all game. Excellent stratagem. So then there's a whole bunch of companies. I'm really going to focus on just going through the ones that I think are good. The first one here is for Mortarion's Anvil. Warlord trait 1 through 3 always fails. This is similar to the Chaos Knight one. I think this is really good. I just don't know when you would really use this, because I would always rather have the Warlord trait that gives me a +1 to feel no pains, or the Warlord trait that heals a wound automatically at the start of every player turn, so it's twice a battle round, or I would rather have the Warlord trait that's another one of these that gives me up to 3 wounds per phase from killing models. So maybe there's a place for this. I just don't know when you would use that. Tollkeeper. It's only in melee. It's not in shooting. If it was in shooting, I'd be interested. It's just exploding 6s. It's on a Tallyman, so I can't deep strike him. He doesn't move fast. Maybe. I'm not sure. And it's unmodified, so it doesn't matter if you use Prescience. So I'm skeptical. Futility Made Flesh. This is another one that I'm so sad is 2 or 3. There's a couple of these that are just too expensive probably for me to ever use, although it depends what's in 9th edition. It's a Terminator unit, which is great. I can use it on Death Shroud or Blight Lords. I really like both. You reduce the damage characteristics by 1. I wish this was a normal stratagem too, so I didn't have to take this Plague Company, because there's other stuff I'd probably rather have on Terminators. But what this is really good for is bring, Death Shroud only go up to a squad of 6, so bring 5 of them. Have them next to Mortarion, either just a first turn, or if they deep strike in later, but probably you want it on the first turn. And I've had games where I would ally in Warp Time and move Mortarion normally and Warp Time these guys behind them. If you have 5 or less models, which is only 1 less than max squad size, it only costs 2. And then they can tank for Mortarion if he's being shot by a bunch of well, no, you never mind. Now that I'm rereading it, it's not as good, because you can't do it on the Death Shroud if they're not the target of the attack. And the way they work is, presumably people would just shoot at Mortarion only, and so then you can't activate it. So the way it's written is really unfortunate. So it wouldn't help you that much to protect Mortarion. So what I would probably just do is, I'm really considering bringing, a squad of, 6 or 5, or if they get knocked down to 5 and they get shot on turn to deep strike, or they lose a guy, it's only 2 command points, which is okay. And then turning a huge bunch of shots down by 1 damage will really help them survive, especially with that feel no pain that they have, and the 4-up invulnerable save and the Cataphract Eye Armor. So I like it a lot, but it's probably situational that I would bring this Plague Company as opposed to one of the other ones. Then there's a Heroic Intervention one, which I don't think is any good. Then this one here is Ferric Blight. It's an aura, which I like auras. That they give you a lot of bang for your buck. Especially now you can buy the Warlord traits for just 1 CP. But it's only against enemy vehicles, and it has to be within 7 inches of the Warlord, and it's just an AP improvement by 1. I don't know about this. If you're playing against a lot of vehicles all the time in a new edition, maybe you can double it up with the new Blight Hauler stratagem to be minus 2 AP. It's not only assault, so you can do it in shooting if you get your Warlord close. I just don't know. This is a good one. Models destroyed. If you made a melee attack by a model that has this relic, You can heal a friendly model nearby for 1 wound automatically. Each model for your army can regain up to 3 lost wounds per turn as a result of this ability. I actually think this is pretty cool, but it takes a relic slot, so I don't know. Let's say you had a Demon Prince with the double talons, and he goes in, and with the Death to the False Emperor and all that, somehow he kills, let's say, 9 guardsmen or something, and you've got all these flamer foot of bloat drones or blade purse callers that move near warlord. 18 inches is pretty far range. They're nearby. I actually think this could be really good if people try to throw a lot of crap at you to speed bump you, which is less like in a new edition, but you never know. The thing is, it's automatic, and it's 18 inches, so I actually think that's really good, because let's say that Demon Prince with Talons goes in and kills 9 guardsmen, you've just automatically healed 3 wounds on each of your nearby Plague Burst Crawlers or something. That could be really annoying to play against. But the vehicles have to be in the same play company inexorable, and so I think there's another one that's better that you're always going to want to take for the 4-up invulnerable save bubble. But I this has potential to be super annoying, so I actually think it might not be bad at all, and it's per turn. So I can't remember if that means automatic, if that normally means player turn or battle turn, or turn 1, turn 2. But there's no limit on how many different vehicles you can give this to. If your guy keeps killing stuff, you can keep healing as many vehicles as you have 3 times each. Unholy Essence, Inexorable Advance, I don't care about that. This is not bad. It's when any inexorable unit from your army it gets charged. Subtracting -2 from the charge roll on something that's trying to come out of Deep Strike is really good. So I like that. It's just this is a weird combination of stuff in this play company. Poxmongers. This is the thing I think everybody says is going to be the most common, is probably this one. The Warlord trait, it's only with melee weapons by friendly Poxmongers model against an enemy infantry unit while that model's unit is within 7 inches of the Warlord. It's another one that improves the AP by 1. And this one, unlike the other one, is only melee. The benefit is, but it's not even unit, it's model. Okay, never mind. This is weirdly written. While that model's unit is within 7 inches. So yeah, you can get the whole unit of your guys, even if only one of the models within 7 inches. But then here's the thing: it's only against infantry. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know that I would take. Maybe I would buy this pregame or something for a command point. Here's the one that everybody's talking about: 7-inch bubble of the relics. You can give this to an elite character or something. It doesn't have to be your warlord or an HQ. 4-up invulnerable save. So what I would probably do is take that Plague Surgeon, park him behind some Plague Burst Crawlers with entropy cannons, upgrade the Plague Burst Crawlers, give him the upgrade to reroll 1s and 2s to wound, and then give him this relic. And suddenly those Plague Burst Crawlers all have 4-up invulnerable saves, and they are rerolling 1s and 2s on those entropy cannons and the mortars. But obviously the other good thing is just give it to a Demon Prince. He moves 12. He flies with 3 of the bloat drones that move 10. And he's got those Plague Burst Crawlers with flamers or entropy cannons, because now they can move and shoot. And they all, move within 7 inches of him. How annoying is it to try to blow up, 3 bloat drones and then the 3 Plague Burst Crawlers, or maybe even 3 of the Mephitic Blight Haulers, and they're all on a 4-up invulnerable save on top of the Feel No Pain. Really great. I might make just a Demon Engine army out of this. Then in the shooting phase, select the Demon Engine. It can shoot even if it fell back, 1 command point. Situational, but potentially really good. And then in the fight phase, when a demon engine from your army kills just even one model, all they have to do is kill one model, and then you regain D3 lost wounds. Well, that Plague Burst Crawler kills something with those crappy attacks. Kills a guardsman with that melee attack if you get lucky. Hey, D3 lost wounds. Super annoying because Plague Burst Crawlers are hard to get rid of already. You can take this with the Flesh Mower, Bloat Drones. For one command point, I think it's really nice. Especially because now in 9th edition you should be getting a command point a turn automatically. With the amount of command points you're using, I do think maybe people will take the Tallyman now just for, hoping for that 7 so that it's free, especially if you use one of those 2 or 3 command point stratagems. You've got a 1 in 6 chance, 15% or so of it's free. Really, going to have to balance that against the fact that everything's getting more expensive and you're going to be tighter on points. Warlord trait, Eater Plague. I like this a lot. I think this is one of the best ones. It's only a melee attack by your Warlord, but regains a wound. Up to 3 wounds per phase. So you can get 3 wounds back on your turn in the fight phase, and then 3 wounds on the opponent's turn, or the other way around. I don't know if this is better than the one that lets you regenerate 1 automatically at the start of each player turn, because that will help you even if you're not in melee and it's reliable. But this lets you heal up to 6 wounds in a battle round rather than 2, so I'm on the fence. But you do have to take this Plague Company to get it. The Demon's Favor, it's for a Playcaster only. If the result of the Psychic test was less than 7, the nearest enemy unit within 7 inches, so it's only 7 inches, suffers 1 mortal wound. If it was 7 or more, which on average it's going to be, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Well, it's a relic, so you can't use it with the other relic that everybody gets on the first thing we looked at. But the thing is, they can cast 2 powers, so you could potentially do 2-3 mortal wounds from this. But it does replace their normal ability that does something similar. So, not worth getting unless you really are set on this Plague Company. Rotted Veil. This is actually really good because you can, move in advance and still perform a demonic ritual. Or you can deep strike in and perform a demonic ritual. And you're never going to hurt yourself with a doubles or triples, and you're guaranteed to get at least an 8. So, I actually wish this wasn't locked as Plague Company. People probably think this is stupid, but in the new edition, you're going to be punished for taking detachments. But in almost all my games, when I'm Death Guard, I want at least a Poxbringer for Fleshy Abundance to heal my Plague Burst Crawlers or my Demon Prince or something. So, this is actually really good for bringing that guy in. I would pay a command point for that. So, if you're taking this, I think that's what it's good for. And this is really good. Sevenfold Blessings. Select a Psyker model. Until end of the battle, when a Psychic test is taken for the model, you can reroll 1 of the dice. You can only use it on one thing, because this one, even though it's pregame. But what's good about this is this gives you yet another thing that you could put on a Demon Prince, because it's any Psyker. So, you can have a Demon Prince that has this upgrade to reroll a die, and so it's better on a Playcaster because they cast 2 powers and you can reroll a die for each. But if you really want that -1 to hit or something on your Demon Prince, and you're taking this Plague Company, this is great because you can give them a Warlord trait and a relic, and you can give them this upgrade. So that's 3 permanent things you can have on a Demon Prince, and then there's a bunch of stratagems you can use for Demon Princes now, a bunch of new ones, including the one for the sword. So I think that's what I would do if I were taking this Plague Company. The Ferryman, Warlord trait is morale. I never care about that. I might in a new edition. It adds to the result. We'll see. The Ferryman Scythe, this is the only Plague Reaper relic, as far as I am aware. So if you're taking that new Lord of Contagion with this, with that reroll 1's aura, this is actually what I would take. It's tempting to take this Plague Company because I like this a lot. The big difference here is that you combine, normally they're +2 or +3 strength. This is +4. And the one with higher strength is D3 damage. Here you've got better strength than either of the normal options for the lower contagion, and it's a flat 3 damage. And on top of that, besides being a plague weapon, unmodified wound rolls of 6 inflict a mortal wound. And you're probably going to be rolling. You're always going to be rolling 2 wound rolls of 1, maybe everything if you have an Arch Contaminator. I think it's fantastic. It makes if you're taking this plague company, it's great. And then you've got this other thing here. I really, really, really wish this was also in melee, because I love having prescience and carving through Imperial armies with the +1 to hit on the plague flails, because they have normally 2d3, 3d3 on a charge each attacks. Each one of those, that's a 6, or with a prescience of 5 up, spawns d3 more attacks, so they can create a huge amount of attacks against Imperials, and if you use that prescience. And so you can't do that here. Can't get the 2-up rerolling on in melee with them, but it does mean that you can do what I do and bring the Kami Plasma Blight Lords and not have to pay to bring a prescience ally, which is going to be a lot more painful in the new edition, in 9th edition. So this gives me a way of still running those Terminators without bringing, an ally or Ahriman or something, because I can hit that command point. I can't fail it like Prescience unless it gets countered by Genestealer Cult or something, and that means I'm never going to overheat on the Plasma shots, on top of probably hitting on 2-up rerolling. So, bringing my 10 Blight Lords and then a Lord Contagion with the reroll 1s, giving the Lord Contagion this relic, I like that quite a lot. And on Droning Wings, it's 2 command points, which is a lot, increases an aura ability by 7 inches. I don't know why this is 2 command points or what this is really intended for. I'm going to have to reserve judgment until I can figure out when I would use this, because you can't use it on Mortarion. Except for one of the play companies that gives the name to Typhus. There's another page that I don't have here that talks about how named characters like Typhus and Mortarion can never get these keywords. They don't break it for your detachment, but they don't get it. So if I can't increase Mortarion's aura, why would I use this? I'm just not really sure, unless I'm really desperate to... The only way I could think of this being worth 2 command points is if I have a Warlord that has Arch Contaminator and my army has started spreading out, and I spend 2 command points, and suddenly my 7-inch reroll everything aura turns into a 14-inch reroll everything aura, which, unlike a Demon Prince or something, could potentially touch my whole army. So, maybe. And here's the last thing I'm going to look at. Crawling Pestilence. When resolving an attack with a melee weapon against this Warlord, subtract 1 hit roll. Pretty good. When an enemy unit, except one can fly, within 1 inch fall back, on a 2+, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. I actually think this is pretty good. I don't know, it's better than other things. I would rather have the survivability Warlord traits or, reroll wounds or something, but it's not bad. This one I'm confused about. It's only for Foul Blightspawn. It means they always get 7 attacks, but that's the average roll anyway. It's less than average of using that new stratagem. It's AP -3, but then the damage is 2 instead of 3. So I don't know what this means unless they decided to do a big FU to Foul Blightspawn, which is one of the few bright spots in the Codex until now, and reduce their flat damage from 3 to 2. And that's why this is like that, in which case that would be super depressing. I don't know why it's 2 damage. Otherwise it would be good because it would just give you an average. And it gives you the strength 7, but again, that's your average strength, so this is actually worse than average relic. And if they weren't damage 3, I would probably never take them, so I hope they don't change them. This is a reason so many people are talking about this as maybe being the default one, besides the Demon Engine one. You can use this more than once. If you have more than one Plague Surge, and I only have one, you can give it to all of them. It makes their Feel No Pain or Disgustingly Resilient reroll aura work on ones and twos rather than just ones. And everybody said how awful the ones is. If you do the math, I think increasing, just having a normal Plague Surgeon only increases your survivability by 5%, which is awful. This increases it by 11%. So it's a lot better, especially if you use that new Plague Marine expensive stratagem to give yourself +1 Feel No Pain for a turn. The other thing is, well, this only works on infantry models, but there's also a Warlord trait in the Codex that you add one for that Warlord with, you add one to your Feel No Pain rolls as long as it's not a mortal wound. So, if you're Chaos Lord, if you give a Warlord trait to like a Lord of Contagion, and you give him that one, which I think is a fantastic one, and then you've got him near this guy, then you've just always, without spending any more command points, he has a 4-up Feel No Pain and rerolls 1s and 2s. Put him near some Death Shroud, and Death Shroud can tank, better by being near this guy. And then they can tank for the Plague Surgeon so he doesn't die. I think this is really, really good. There's a lot of reasons to use this, but me personally, I would probably just more often go to it with improving my Demon Engines. Plague Brewers, it's until the end of the phase, Plague Belchers, Plague Spear Gauntlets, and Plague Spears have a damage 2. I was talking earlier about how much I like the Death Shroud and the idea of coming in and out of Deep Strike for 1 command point. Giving the Deep Strike range for their Flamers. It's only in a shooting phase, so won't help you on Overwatch if you Overwatch now. Although now you have to pay command point for that in 9th edition. But damage 2. If you're fighting like Nurglings or something, and someone's trying to tar pit you, and you have some of these normal Flamers in your Plague Marine units, or you've got these Plague Spear Gauntlets, all of a sudden just make them damage 2. Nurglings don't get to feel no pain. They have 4 wounds each, but suddenly you're doing damage 2 on each one that goes through. So for 3 command points, you can drop down, shoot all your Plague Spear Gauntlets out of your Death Shroud, and then spend another command point to make it +1 to wound. Spend another command point for damage 2. You probably Deep Struck him with a Warlord that has the Arch Contaminator, and all of a sudden, out of Deep Strike, 76 shots, +1 to wound, reroll all to wound, hit automatically, damage 2. No AP, but you start feeling a few armors. Each one will kill a normal Primaris Marine. So I think that's good. And that was everything I had. I appreciate the people who took time to watch this video. If you liked it, leave some comments down below. I'm really excited to play Death Guard. I apologize if anything this video was not great about the audio. The video quality should be in HD. If it's not, I have to figure out how to fix that. Appreciate everybody watching. I'm very excited about this. We'll see what 9th edition brings. But hey, I've got a huge painted Death Guard army. It looks really beautiful. And if I can just bring it to tables and events and feel a lot better and have a lot more choices on how to build my army, I'm going to be happy. So I wish we would have gotten a new chapter trait or some things that didn't require command points or relics. But short of that, this is a book that far exceeds my expectations. There's way more combos in here than I think people are really giving credit for. It makes a lot of units that were not attractive suddenly attractive again. So congratulations, Games Workshop. I love all this stuff. I'm excited to play